I think we're alive. Good. Glad to see that. Better than not being alive, I suppose. Though I suppose the debate is, will you even care or no? Let's see, which one are we after? 658. 659, 658. And this one here is my own. So I'll take this one out. And that way at least I can test. I just realised I don't have a screen for that. I don't know where the 2012 screen is. So that's going to be fun. Good evening all. Good to see you all here. Best time mark this to let me know that it's actually let me know it's mine. Probably should put everything in a container as well. Even though there's not going to be a lot of screws, there'll be enough to mess with me. Hey, Blue Dog, Andrew, Pierre, Keith, Andre, Mark. By the way, people who have a license of Flex Board View, I finally have produced a alpha quality version of a Windows release that ties in with Open Board Data Server. So you no longer have to actually download the data files or anything. You just, so long as your board files are formatted in a reasonable way, in the sense of they have the board number in the file name and basically that's it, then you should be able to get the open board data to work properly. And the nice thing is you can actually update the values and send them up to the server if you want. But I've got that on Facebook at the moment, or if you've got my email, just send me an email and I can give you the link to it. It is still, like I said, very much beta or alpha quality really. I only just finished tying up most of the worst loose ends this afternoon, and from here it's a case of now we get to see how badly coded it was. I'll see if I can actually run it tonight for you, just to have a look. There's not a lot of data there, no. What's this? What the? Cannot find OpenSSL. What? Why would CMake want SSL? Can't possibly imagine why CMake would want SSL. I guess it has a reason. How I may be downloading things, I don't know. So now I need to get OpenSSL. Weird. Leave this aside. Sorry. Yeah, it's just kind of peculiar that... Hey Sonny, how are you? Are you up at Jess's or are you still in New York? You must be feeling alone if you're stuck in New York. Nobody's there now. Everybody's left. Hey, Teresa. Alright, so this is my board. We don't give that one away yet. Is live streaming expensive? No. No, it's not. Hello, Kurawashi Mutape. Wonder how badly I said that. Hey, Kopaz. Alright, so these are all 3023 boards, and yeah, there's not a huge point in servicing them anymore, but I got a stack sent to me, so I may as well give it a shot, hey? James Ewing. Yeah, let's see. Does it take the same screen as the normal 1466? I never bothered to check that. Let's see if I can plug one in. Without butchering it and without destroying it, one hopes. Gotta twist the tongue. Get the tongue in the right position. Man, I'm too blind for this stuff. Yeah, it fits. It fits, but does it work? All except eyesight. Oh, fair enough. Well, that's understandable. Alright. Well, we'll plug this in and see what sort of chipmunk response we get out of it. Because I have no idea, there's no fault listings with these or anything like that. It's just a stack of boards arrived and that's the end of that. So we are going to be launching these blind. There's no screen, because that would mean I have to go into the other room. What's wrong with the particular series? Aside from the fact it's getting old, just they're not as durable as the 3437s or even the 165s. Yeah, the 3437 pretty much sets the standard for durability. Okay, put a chipmunk in. Is these MagSafe 1 or 2? Crazy how this MagSafe 1. Okay. Well, that boots. Okay. This is the classic problem with these boards. The 3 RAM beep. Yeah. 3 RAM beep. Okay. And I hate to say it, but once you get the 3 RAM beep, it's probably not really worth doing much more. Just swap out the RAM. It's not even worth it, Sonny. How can you even suggest that, Sonny? You know it's not worth it. Three beep. I mean, what is that, like 16 chips there? No way. That's a good fat waste of time. Especially considering it'll probably die on you 2 weeks later. Oops. Let's see, troubleshoot at 1598, stuck on 5 volt. Yeah. I'm not going to PayPal you anything, Sonny. I'll get Lewis to PayPal you something. That one bongs and runs. Okay, so this must have another fault, and I can see it right there. Yeah, I'm sorry. 3 beepers are just going to get straight away put into the donor board queue for me. Sonny, your solution is just going to be either change the board or it's going to be reflow the RAM chips. You're not going to actually have a genuine lasting solution. Okay, now let's see if my damn CMake can build. As I said, I'm pretty sure I saw the... Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I've got a spot of corrosion there. Unfortunately, the 3-beat RAM death is pretty much where all of these boards ultimately go. It's just something they all have in common. A final destination. I'm gonna find out what that corrosion's on. Okay, so that's on 3v42. That makes no sense. Alright, that makes more sense. The top one's probably the real troublemaker. This one here, not so much. But it's kind of weird that in the board view it's listed as rail 342, whereas here it's 3v3S5 SMC, which I dare say probably... Yeah, okay, and that's why. Okay, so 342 is what it really is, but it fans off into all these other ones. 3-beat boneyard, yes, that's quite right, Andrew, quite right. Alright, so let's fix this one up. I'd say this one's only working just because vibration damage, vibration fixing. So what happens is, as these things go through the, through the postal system, they get a nice little shake around. The shake around causes the corrosion to crack away, which in turn makes them work again. Hey Greg, good morning to you. That one's gone, that one's gone. And Mike Sims. If there's a little bit of stuttering on the video, it's because of the build process going on in the background. The actual CMake source code is fairly compact. It's only about a 9 megabyte download. But the trouble is, when it unpacks itself and then it starts building its own source code, or building the source code, it just sort of like has one of those, just expands out into a very large project that takes a considerable amount of time to compile. Now, the reason why I have to use a newer CMake is, what was it? Oh, that's right. I needed to debug something that I was doing the other day, and it's only one of the most recent CMake versions that has the debug flag in it that I could use. So now I've got to upgrade everything. Funnily enough, Ubuntu still has version 3.16.3, I think, and I needed 3.17. So that was a bit of a you gotta be kidding me type thing. Anyway, so I'm upgraded them all to 320 now. Half the time, software development is made frustrating by the fact that the tool packs, the libraries, and all that sort of stuff, even if you're not changing your code, the fact that all the other code that you depend on is changing means you have to still periodically rewrite things, fix bugs and all that, and it's not actually because of what you've done, it's just simply because the world around you is changing. And believe me, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating when you go, okay, I've done a small change, and you update, and you go to build, and nothing works, and it crashes. And you're like, what the hell? And then you find out it's because someone's library somewhere changed. For that model, I suggest you contact the Mac Doctor in Townsville, as it will be quite expensive and it is serialized with Apple, full stop. Java drives me insane. I had very high hopes for Java, believe me. Back in the mid-90s when it first came out, yeah, the prospect was high that we finally would have this language and implementation that we could take with us wherever we went without having to worry about per system nuances. Well, that didn't pan out. And ended up C was just as portable, if not more portable. Hey Lattice, the aircon guy, the one that I've got the air conditioners for still, the controllers, is that you? Or am I thinking something else? Hey Jim, good evening. Not good that you actually woke up to this. Pretty sure that's just a test point. At least I hope so. Oh, maybe it actually has a viewer in the middle there. Actually, come to think of it, it might be a viewer in there. Yeah, that's going to be annoying. But that does remind me, Lattice, that I got my electricity bill today, and that was not very much fun. Yep, that's a veer. My electricity bill for 3 months was 1,256 Australian dollars. I mean, that is just bonkers. Hey, yummy. Eight four. Yep. Those two have to be merged back together in holy matrimony. So we'll put the caps back down first, and yeah, after the caps are down, we'll deal with that link. Yeah, Andre, if only it was something as profitable as that, but no, it's not. Okay, so we got 100 nanofarad 10 volt, 100 nanofarad 10 volt. Okay, so we just need a pair of 100 nanofarad 10 volts. What are they? 402s? 402s. No, we're using split systems. The problem is the house. The house is just not very good. There were 5 of us living in here until a few weeks ago. So 2/3 of that, half of 2/3, so 2/6. So it's $400 is not ours. Anyway, as soon as I can get the roof fixed up, I'll be able to get solar installed. And because we heat during the day, sorry, not heat, because we cool during the day, when it's hot and sunny, then, it sort of solves. We generate the power to cool the house and use it at the same time, so our bill should drop dramatically once I get solar, because we are an ideal usage case. But it's certainly a lot of MacBook boards to repair to make up that sort of bill. I wish I could blame it on running servers or anything like that, but I really don't have servers anymore. I mean, I've got one little HP micro server, and then I have my 27-inch iMac. But that's pretty much it. It's really just the air conditioning that kills us. Can you make me a version of OpenBoard View where I can put ads on top and bottom? Oh, sure, Sonny, you can do that. You've got coders, you can do that. Your biggest problem, of course, is always going to be if you want widespread adoption of it. Why would you want to put adverts on? Advertise the MacBook repair services that Lewis doesn't offer anymore. I'm really feeling a bit awkward here. Very flexible pry tools. Let's see. What job's this in relation to, by the way? The pry tools, that is. Is Lewis really moving to Florida? Or is he just saying that? Lewis says a lot of things. What he says and what he does can be a little bit different. Not to say that he won't. I'm just kind of curious whether he's just jibber jabbering. Hey Rose Electronics, welcome. The reason for the fine gauge wire is so that I could actually... You've got to be able to get it to sit on top of that veer. If you use oversized gauge, it has a tendency not to bond. Half the problem is that you need too much heat. Okay, I'm just being a bit silly here and hopefully this won't bite me. Hey Flying Scare. I guess to be fair, it's Lewis's dream to leave behind the horrors of the MacBook store. You can't blame him really. Especially with the way the repair situations are going lately. There we go. That's a nice repair now. Yep. Alright, so 660 should be good. I'm just going to put that into the system. And CMake is still building, would you believe? And it's not like this is a slow machine. This isn't 8400. Pardon me, i5, and it's running on an SSD. Let's see, 4910, 4904. So 4910, see 4904. And then that trace. CPU PKR. Aha! I think it's finally built. Lars, you're looking for the Vicky multimeter version. No, I don't have that one. Oh wait, you asking where you can actually buy it? Okay, that I can show you. I still haven't bought one for myself. I want to buy one. I was going to buy one for a birthday present, but I didn't get around to it. Let's see. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah, it's weird. I can't find it. Aha, found it. Hey, Carl. Okay, so this is it. It's the same company and all, but, or at least it seems to be. Yeah, and it's probably pretty much an empty box as well. But yeah, the Roshui, whatever, 8145C. And the price seems to be pretty good. Shipping seems to be okay, but you know, I've just got to get one. And the thing is, I've got a perfectly good multimeter. I just find it entertaining sometimes to write the software for them or to experiment with them. So anyway, so that's what it is. I think I'm going to go and get a test screen for this, just so we can see that it works. Alright. Maybe not. Whoops. My wife's going to think I'm getting violent around here, but it was just a case of I left the... I've got the window open in here, so there's no pressure against me slamming the door in a hurry. It's not a good thing. Okay, I think what I'm going to have to do is... but then I'll use the keyboard, damn it. Alright, this is going to be fun. Yummy steak there. No, you might have been looking at the other test pad. There was one that most certainly did have a veer in it. The one I just fixed up did. Because I scratched it right back, took the surface layer of copper off, and right in the middle of the pad area was a chunky little veer going down into the board. But there was multiple test pads I was working on there, so that's why you're probably a bit confused. But that's okay, I understand. Gee, how am I going to make this work? That felt a bit squishy, which means we may not get the best quality screen output. Let's put a screw in there, stop things falling out when I flip this over inevitably. in some kind of business. We'll leave it up like this so that everyone can see. Honestly, it makes me feel like I'm back in the 1980s with the little standard keyboard setups. Oh, what do you know? It actually worked. Sonny, it's just a you just get an LVDS extension cable for the 1466. You can also get them for the 1502s and 1398s. Really, really useful things, as you can well just tell. There is a difference between the 1466 and the 1502 one. The 1502 1398 one seems to have a couple of extra components on it, probably to try and stabilize the signal. This here is the 1502 1398 version, the Retina version. But basically they're the same. And Basil, Mike Sims, you have a late 2013 Pro, shuts off after a few minutes of booting. Reflowed in the oven. Is it 13 or 15 inch? Yeah, this has been a little bit sluggish to boot. Could be a few reasons for that. Okay, so you got a 1398, 2013. Oh, they'll probably be your VRMs. Yeah, they'll probably be your voltage regulator modules. Which are a whole bunch of fun to replace. I mean, it's entirely doable, but it's certainly not something you want to do if you haven't done it before without a test machine to play with. Hey, Electro Rip. They are easy. I think it's the FDMF 3030 chipset you want now. That would be my first guess anyway. Yeah. You can get them from DigiKey or Mouser. The spare board will probably still have the same issue. Okay, I'm not sure why this thing's running so pig slow. Okay, so we do indeed have 1.7 i5, 4 gigs. All the temperatures seem reasonable. No point in me doing a keyboard thing. Aladdin, not a huge amount on the house. We're still waiting for our carpet. It's starting to piss us off. But the back patio enclosure is kind of underway. The pest people arrived last week and they painted down the termite protection barrier. We've also sort of decided on what tiles we're going to use, and if we go ahead with that, then I've got to probably buy about 150, certainly at least 100 square meters of it. So that's going to be a little expensive. Yeah, that's going to be somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000, I reckon. Yep, Paul's not made of money, but Paul's going to have to come up with the money. This will likely not run very fast. I think about 5 frames per second. CA, unless you're using a nitrogen gas or some other anti-oxygen type layer protective system with your soldering, you're going to need flux. Yikes, this is slow. Josh, yeah, it depends on the tiles. These are wood look type planks, and I just don't know how expensive they are. It could be anything from $59 a square meter to $100 a square meter. This is painfully slow, but there doesn't appear to be anything actually. There's no compelling reason for it to be slow. I mean, the SMC must be okay because all the sensors are fine there. Crikey, it's slow, mate. Well, at least my CMake is done, so now I can go and... What do I have to do next? Open SSL. What? What are you doing? 2 frames per second, that's... oh, this could be because it hasn't got a battery in it. That might be why. Can't find SQLite? Seriously? Wow, there's so many things that are broken on this system at the moment. Alright, well, we know it works, it's just slow, but I suspect battery. Let's try and think. I'll go get a battery and just plug it in. Oh, here we go. Be able to see if it charges too. Yep. Now we're up to 7 frames per second. Yeah, it works. So yeah, if you've got speed issues, then stop taking the drug. Gavani, yes, I am an engineer. I actually did engineering at university, and then I also did science. They are two different types of thing. My engineering was computer systems engineering, which is basically embedded systems in this current day and age. And my science was computer science, which is basically math, but it's more of an applied math. Yes. And then, of course, on top of what was learned at university, there is the never-ending learning that you do after it. So, it's if I still had just stuck with what I learned at university, then that wouldn't do me much chop now. That said, there are a lot of the theoretical side of things that still remain true to this day. Particularly, a couple of the most useful subjects on the computer science side was algorithms and complexity, which deals with graphs and algorithms, obviously. And when I say graphs, I'm not talking about your board meeting type graphs. I'm talking about the point to node and such things like that. And also operating systems designs in theory. That was also a very good topic to be taking. On the engineering side, things like kinetics, dynamic and static systems, all that sort of stuff, dealing with loads and structural design, that was all good too. The electronics engineering side of it, funnily enough, was actually less what I use now than perhaps anything else. There are a few good things in there, but it was more the theoretical side again. It was things like K-maps and just all the theory behind the different taking your basic logic gates into computational logic and things like that. So there was a lot learned. It was a good starter, and I think that's the thing. You've got to realise that for the most part, university is just a starter. It gets you running, gets you into the field, gives you the foundations of theories, and from there, well, it's up to you. You certainly don't walk out of university and stop learning. Hell no. Hey, Jarek from Poland, welcome. Jim, it's all good. Database design and theory was another good one. When you first step into the course, you kind of think, how hard is it to create a database for like the community club or whatever, and you learn pretty quickly that there's a lot of aspects to databases that you want to try and get right at the start to make it easier in the long term. You're a polymath? No, not really. Funnily enough, I did not do so well with calculus, which is strange because I did quite enjoy that at school, and at the high levels of calculus. But for some reason, when I got to university, I found it more interesting, all the computer science type math. And you do use calculus a bit in that when you're trying to work out, your limits and terms of your order of your worst running order, your best running order, that kind of thing. But overall, you don't tend to use it quite as much as you thought you would, the calculus, that is. I imagine if I'd gone more in the engineering side, then I probably would have used it a lot more. Patrick, thank you very much for the 3. Much appreciated that. I will try my best to make good use of that. Yeah, Jim, it's funny. I really wish that they hadn't have hadn't have demonized apprenticeships and things like that, because I know when I was going through school in the late 80s at high school, there was a very sort of strong push away from practical courses like apprenticeships and things like that. Everybody sort of looked down a little bit on it, and in the market it was all just push for university, university, university. But in the end, we ended up with a glut of useless people coming out of university and a significant lack of people who actually had talent in terms of plumbers, electricians, carpenters, builders, all that sort of stuff. And now we're paying for it. Those people are getting a lot more money than I ever did. Not that I was really into that side of thing, but I know there are a lot of people that were swayed to go to university who really would have done a lot better at trade. Laplace and Fourier transformations, we didn't actually get that into original calculus. That was more actually in electronics engineering, particularly when you're doing circuit analysis on audio circuits or signal circuits, trying to extract various signals from what seemed like noise, doing inverse Fourier transformations. Anyway, let's plug this in before I get lost on what I was doing. We don't want that one in there, we want the chipmunk in here. Surging circuits, that's probably about right. Okay, so you can't see that, right? Okay, so we've got 5 volts, we've got power, we don't have a fan spin. That's a little bit different. What's our current? 586. Something is getting hot here. The CPU slightly. Alright. Let's disconnect that. Have a browse over the board, which I probably should have done initially. I think things like board repair, electronics repair. Okay, we've got corrosion down here, which isn't great. Oh, yeah, okay. Duh. Yeah, the gecko finds that amusing too. Yeah, things like board repair are more, I would say, trade type jobs. You don't really have to know electronics to do this work. It can be useful for some diagnosis situations, but overall I'd say no, not really that needed. Alright, so this has got corrosion damage. That's no good. Yeah, we won't quite go to the FLIR yet. It's going to check the other side of the board, which is what I should have done before I even hooked this up. So that was my bad. It does help understand, yeah, it does help for the fundamentals, I do agree. I also think there's a lot of things that you can get done without having to know much. Yeah, particularly if you're dealing with a large number of boards, then chances are you can just pump them through, get the signature type faults sorted out. Oh, what the hell? That's no, that's not from me. That's some pretty gnarly damage. Now this one here shouldn't really matter because that just looks like it's just your standard decoupling. This one here might matter. I'm just not sure exactly what that cap's for. Okay, we've got some bad corrosion up here. It's probably, yeah, and corrosion here. This is fast becoming a donor board. Well, find out what's going on with that cap there. Gavani, let's see, scale 1 to 10, how hard is it for you to repair MacBooks and write your repair aid code? Yeah, I don't really find it hard per se. I'd say the difficult thing with code writing is being able to carve out time to do it. Because you need to get into the mindset, you need to create this framework in your head of where everything is and the task you're trying to perform and how you're trying to cram it in there, because you know you're still not going to get it perfect, but you're trying to at least get enough done so that you can sort of get a grab onto the next level of achievement, so to speak, the next feature sort of point, enough that you'll then have the incentive to pull yourself up, as in finish what you're writing. MacBook boards, repairing them and others, it is a different sort of mindset again. It's I think the most frustrating thing with working on MacBook boards is when you get the faults where you need a part, or you can't sort of diagnose one thing or another, or maybe when you get sucked into the rabbit hole. I think that's probably the worst thing, is getting sucked into rabbit holes. Anyway, I've got to find out what this part is. Okay, it's on the memory side. I think this is it. Yep. Not that. There we go. Alright, so that's a bias cap. It shouldn't be a major thing, but it will make it unstable not having that there. So it really does need it. Like I said, it will make it unstable. I'm just kind of curious why we've got bias and in. They're the same line, I think. Oh no, they're not. No, 3v3 and 1v8. Yeah. Alright, we'll get that swapped anyway. Rishav, if that's a 2011 15-inch, then that's probably why. I don't think this is going to be the cause of the problem, but it does need to be fixed. That actually did crack the cap on there, so that may be a fault maker. Ah, sorry folks, sorry. Because now I'm going to hear everyone complain and I've already switched over. Thank you, lag YouTube. Alright, so this cap here is a 1 microfarad 40263. So what have we got? 10 microfarad, it's a bit big. 1 microfarad 40263. Tried to run away. Morpheus, I think we decided the other day that probably the best trigger to go back is the hot air or the soldering iron being taken out of their holsters. Movement alone won't be enough to distinguish whether I'm just looking at it or something else. Okay, the next one of these two here, 2662. So it's 100 nanofarad 16 and a 4763. That's kind of interesting. Both on the same bus, but they've got 16 volt and they've got 6.3 volt ones, which means the bus doesn't go any higher than 3 or so volts. You're probably wondering why the hell would they put 16 volt ones on if it only goes up to 3. And that actually comes down to the part cost efficiency as well as placement efficiency. In these sort of scenarios where it's not a critical capacitor, as in it doesn't really matter, you can, just put whatever, you can pick another voltage or something that's, as long as you've got the right capacitance, as long as you're over the minimum voltage required. If it saves you having to have a dedicated reel for that one value, then often it's just easy to do it that way. Drop in another one of a higher voltage. Because if you can save a second, 1 second on the loading of these parts, of a single part, then that's a lot of time saved at the factory building the boards. So that's why they do that. Mike Sims, they do them like that to provide response to different sort of pulses and demand of power. So obviously the smaller caps can respond quicker, but of course they've got less power in them. So we just sort of tend to put a smattering of various decades of capacities. So like you'll have 1 nanofarad, say 100 nanofarad, 1 microfarad, 10 microfarad, and you just spray them over the board, and it's just like jelly beans. You just throw them everywhere. I'm just looking for my smaller caps. Ah, there they are. Most of the time, there's no real computation done to work out what the actual required capacitance is for that line to make sure it stays stable. It's really just a case of, well, we built it, it seems to be working, and if you do get a glitch, then you go along, you pretty much just double up everything, or throw in a few extras until that glitching goes away. Well, the thing is, you say Apple really they spend a lot of money on these parts on these boards. I've said it before, there's a lot of the parts that you get on iPhones and the Macs that... just wait for this to... that are very expensive to get because they like to cram the most capacitance or the most spec into the smallest package, and there is a great number of capacitors on the iPhones that you can't really even buy from most of the suppliers at a reasonable price. So Apple doesn't skimp in that regard. And overall, I know it's not popular, but the quality of their boards I certainly consider to be quite good. They are tough boards. They're sturdy. They're fairly well laid out. There's a couple of things, but sometimes it's just a case of a compromise that has to be made. I mean, if you look at a lot of the modern PC laptops, they're now shoving everything on 1mm thick boards or even 0.8, and they just can't handle any sort of flexing. Whereas these Apple boards are still on 1.6 or better, usually 1.6. I guess someone has washed these boards, and that's kind of ticking me off. Well, I mean, there's times when there's always going to be a capacitor or a point where a fault's going to manifest if you damage it. I think that's just inevitable with all designs. It all comes down to, what's your risk evaluation. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like Apple from the business perspective, but their engineering department usually does a pretty good job. At least they do have a decent quality board fabrication. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some real duds out there like A1534s, oh my goodness. But in fairness, Intel needs to take the hit on that one, at least 50% of the hit. Now, I know there's no active cooling in the 1534, but at the same time, there's plenty of machines out there with no active cooling and they go on forever. So I think Intel dropped the board on that with their substrate issues, a bit like AMD and Nvidia in the years past. This board is actually giving me the heebie-jeebies. There's just too much liquid dodginess going on and it's been washed away. So I get the feeling that even if this gets up and runs, it's going to come crashing down later. Yeah, Miles, I've noticed that a lot with the PC boards lately. Like I said, they're just making them on circuit boards that are just way too thin. Yeah, if people are worried about bending issues on things like iPhones, how we always like to say that the Touch ID, what do you call it? 6 Plus touch fault, and then the 7 audio IC and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we like to blame that on the bending board, but really, if you look at the engineering of the case and the board and things like that, you are not going to get that much flex in those areas, certainly not enough to cause that kind of fault. In my opinion, those faults are actually being caused by Apple pushing the density on the boards, the part density, just too high, and the circuit board, the actual PCB and the layers substrate can't cope with the thermal differential, the difference between the thermal coefficients. And that's what's happening is as the chips just naturally expand and contract with the board, it's taking it out on the outer pads and just shearing them off bit by bit. I don't believe it is actually a macro scale physical flex problem. I know that's the popular opinion, but I don't believe it myself. Especially that you get the ones that seem to just die on the shelf anyway. Oh, that, yeah, Mark, which reminds me, I've got to actually still get that thing back together. I am dreading putting that together, and I have to apologise to the owner because it's... Some of those boards, honestly, you want to just pay the person $100 to not have to put the damn thing back together. It's worth paying them money so you don't have to put it back together. But I do need to do it, and it's been so long. And I definitely feel bad about it because I see it every day. I've got to get that done, got to get that done. Just so many things that are going on, and naturally stuff like that, once you've declared it as a dead board, it's very hard to find the incentive to put the time into it when there's so many other boards that need attention to. But that's poor business on my side, so I apologise if the person happens to be watching this stream at some point. Yeah, my apologies for that. That's poor business on my side. Like I said, honestly, I'd pay $100 to not have to put that thing back together. But yeah, that was a fine example of god-awful design. I mean, that was truly bad design. Zumarden, I don't know... I don't know what you're referring to at the moment, sorry. Given that the bulk of people aren't complaining at this point, I'm going to assume that the stream is okay. Let's see, Travis Stamp, local shop, Macbook boards because they just replaced them. Oh, okay. What they want you to bring the boards back, so what they're going to let you strip parts off it, but they want the board back. Are they an Apple authorized agent? Sounds like they might be. And they've got to still send the boards back. You're a nasty sounding fan. You got more grit in your bearings than I was going to say something about beach pants, fun night, but yeah, best I leave that one alone. Okay, so here we go. Still no fan spin. Alright. Time to check some voltages, and we've still got 600 milliamp being sucked up. So, quad view. Hey, is this... So do we have 342? You've got 340. That is actually... It's a smidge on the low side. Now, some... 339. It actually is a little low than what it should be. Okay, well let's see what PP bus is. I think that PCH is fire trucked. 830. Okay, so we don't have an SMC running. But that CPU is toasting up something serious. So we don't have our proper PB bus. We're down. We're down in what looks like what would otherwise normally be 8.36. That's like no SMC running. But I don't know if it is actually a no SMC situation because we are in SO state. We're not running the fan. That is just a weird thing. Let's see what voltages we're missing. 8.4 is it? I thought it was an 8.6. Okay, Pianov saves the day. This is why I'm really going to enjoy when I get my... Okay, 8.36 is still a fractionally low. It's still no fan spin, even though we are actually... Alright, let's trace this back. Fan does come out of the SMC. FLIR will just basically show these two suckers getting really hot. It's not even running and the CPU is still cooking. Hey Mark, welcome, good evening. I did get your message, Mark. I'm sorry I haven't replied. It's been one of those days. That looks like a very localized heat source on the CPU there. Very localized. I'd say that's a dead CPU. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised. Taylor is doing well. We were just commenting tonight that she's sort of starting to get her form back. Her fur actually looks like it's no longer all matted from the burning. And she's getting the skin back on her nose. That's good. I'm going to say this is dead CPU. I've already invested 15 minutes into this, and everything else is coming up okay. So I'm going to say DD CPU. 659 is DD. Yeah, the whiskers will take a while to grow out. dead CPU. So we've got a 3 beeper, we've got a dead CPU. We've only had one success tonight so far. Okay, we've got another one here. It's the last one. Anel may not have been here, but Sunny has, so I think so far as CPUs go, they're willing to accept Sunny as a substitute for Anel. I best remember Pianov's comment about it being 8.4. I'll have to add that to the open board data. Another 3 beeper. Alright. No, that one goes straight to the bin. Yeah, Mark, pretty much the end of the night now. So we've got 2 3 beepers, 1 dead CPU, and 1 repaired, which will probably become a 3 beeper in due course. Now, it's the way it goes, you know. When people say to me they've got these 3023 boards, it's usually like, okay, there's a pretty good chance that they're not going to be repairable, or it's not worth repairing, but we'll give it a shot. But yeah, this is why on eBay and things like that, if you see a 2012 1466, you just run away, because I think there is a board that isn't too bad. I'm trying to think what it is. Is it 3209 or something? I can never remember. But the 3023 seems to be just murderously bad. Yeah, the 3209 is the one I'm thinking of. That one, if you get a 3 beep, I think you can reflow and it's okay. I could be backwards here. Even Pianov's making fun of me now. Indeed. Oh no, Pianov, but yeah, with the 3209 you can fix up the 3 beep on that alright. But yeah, these ones, that's it, yep. Glad to know I got that one right. I'm starting to feel like an idiot these days. Well, what have we got here? 1 microfarad 63402. So yeah, more than likely that one board that we did successfully repair will probably die soon enough. So yeah, if you see them, just sort of consider them like A1534s. Don't bother. A1312 worth repair. I don't know. Actually, never had a 1312. Pretty much, unless it's 2013 onwards, I basically don't touch them anymore, because too many times you fix it, something else goes wrong somewhere down the line, and you get blamed. Well, you don't get blamed for it, but because you were the last one that touched it, you have to deal with it. And so yeah, 2013 for some models now, 2014 for most others. It's just the reality of it. Unless you want to get stuck with dealing with endless faults because of things just breaking down naturally, then it's probably not a good idea from a business perspective. If you're just having fun, that doesn't matter. It's up to you to do whatever you want to do. Alright. A1312 is dead GPU. Okay. Alright. Okay, well, I am out of here for tonight. I've got to go and deal with some flex board view stuff, and I've got to find out why this system here failed on the build, but fortunately my main workstation is building just fine. But anyway, until I get some more machines or some more parts, that'll be it for the night, and I'll catch up with you all next time, whenever that may be. So in the meantime, you all take care. I'll see you later.